everything was perfect. All your financials were in their best order. Had the emergency savings you want. Your bills are paid. Your mortgage is paid. You have no debts. Somebody gives you $100,000. How would you invest it, and why? The why is the most important part. This isn't financial advice, so don't fucking sue me. It's just what I would do. So I would split it up into percentages. Build a system. You have a system. It's the best way to go. It's the only way to go if you want to stop being a wage slave. I'd put 50% in physical gold and silver. 80% gold, 20% silver. Why? Well, we're at a historical, what do you call it? Financial reset globally. It's not just America. The U.S. dollar has been failing for a while, but it's worldwide. You look at where everything's headed and makes you wonder. Are we looking at another Weimar Germany 1918 to 1924 where a loaf of bread goes from 1 mark to 200 billion marks in 6 years? Yeah, that's what it looks like when they do that. Or Venezuela, where they just lop off zeros. Where 100 trillion goes down to $1 in value in a matter of years, because the government just decides, hey, well, we can't pay our debts, so we're just going to change what our money's actually worth. They can do that. They have done it, and they will do it again. But you don't know how it's going to go. So anyway, that's what I would do for physical gold and silver. It's an asset that has always held value. So hedge that one. 30%, the new thing. What's the new thing? So I do 30% digital currencies. I'm not looking for the hot meme coin. I'm looking for stuff that I've researched. Stuff that has the most probability of being used in this new financial system. I picked 7 of them. Why do I pick 7 of them? Because I like the number 7. It's really the only reason I pick 7 of them. That and you get overloaded. You get 20, 30 of them. You're just splitting your bag. They're not going to do you any good. So I picked the top 7 based on picks and shovels. What's likely to be the most used in the the structure of the new currency. And everyone, I create some kind of a prospectus, a paper, a note, something that says, hey, I'm investing in XLM because it's involved in all these other things. It's got contracts here. The DTCC has mentioned it. It's in the U.S. government's list of commodities. It's the real reasons. You've done your research, and I'm not saying go buy XLM. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I'm just giving you an example of what I do. But basically, every asset that you want to invest in, you should do some research. You shouldn't just say, go, oh, well, so-and-so, my favorite influencer on the internet said this is good. When you don't learn how it works or what makes a company a good company, you have no way to judge next time when that influencer is gone, when they're no longer posting. So learn what to look for. That's what I've done anyway. So anyway, 30% digital currencies, next best thing, or most likely thing. Personally, I would rather it died on the chopping block, because really it's a currency created by the government for the government. It started off as something that was touted as, by the people for the people, but it's not. It's not. It's overly complicated. It's super easy to steal, and it's fucking horrible. Actually, you know, it's going to be their tool to control you. But I'm hedging that that's a damn good possibility that that's what they're going to use. So, you know, invest in it because I got to protect my family and keep going, you know. So then, all right, what are we up to? We're up to 80%. All right. So then 15%. I do 4 dividend ETFs, varying different sectors, you know, diversify it. You know, so you got some growth, you got some stability, you got some you know, you got your dollars making more dollars. You know, and that's pretty steady right now. It's kind of iffy, but it's for now it's pretty steady. And then I do 3 stocks, 3 blue chip stocks. Good companies, been around a long time, got a lot of history, pays decent dividends. I'm staying out of the hype and the future stuff for now. You know, I mean, the quantum computing, the rare earth minerals, you know, all that stuff, that the AI, you know, the stock market's way overvalued. And so I'm not interested in the big win, you know, or trying to catch the high. I'm more interested in stability. So 15% is in ETFs, you know, 4 varying ETFs, 3 blue chip stocks, and you know, 5% of that 15% I'd put in something like a REIT, you know, a real estate equity investment trust, you know, something like Roots. Not affiliated with Roots, not saying go invest in Roots. It's just the one I know, you know, it's kind of a good program. And that's what I would do. So in the last 5% of this $100,000, I would invest in life insurance, because you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, I do an IUL, you know, be your own bank. That's why. Be your own bank. So you want to structure that shit right. You know, don't hop on the first guru that says, hey, you know, let's go invest in an IUL. You know, be your own bank. It's the ultimate thing for protection. It's great for protection, but don't expect it to be something that you can start borrowing off of from day one. You know, do some research, because that's not how they work. You know, from everything I've said, I've seen, I've looked at multiple ones. You know, it's a minimum of at least 6 months before you can start doing something like borrowing against it. You know, usually it's 6 months to 2 years. Best case scenario is to wait 7 years, fully fund it, and then borrow from it. Because when you do that, when you try and do it earlier, it's not how it works. And make sure that you're going with somebody that knows how to set these things up, or learn how to set them up. You know, learn the structure so that the policy is geared in a way that fits what you're looking for. You know, I've looked at a lot of different ones. I've talked to people, different companies, and I had this one company, Linhoff Financial, also not affiliated, not suggesting you go with them, but they do have a great video on how IULs are set up. So check that out. You know, it's good education. But that's what I would do. You know, that's what I would do with $100,000. You know, the world's headed towards something. You know, we don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball and can say, hey, yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen. You know, it's going to be, you know, this, and this. The best we can do is just plan for multiple scenarios and protect the people we care about. You know, it'd be nice if you know, the 8 billion people on this planet would actually unite, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, you know, stay safe out there. Stop hating each other. Quit judging each other based on the color of your skin or your religion or any of that shit. That's what I would do. Just try and live my life, take care of the people I love. That's what I would do.